In mid-November, the 25th Division moved north into North Korea to support Republic of Korea troops near the Yalu River, where Chinese troops had been detected in support of the retreating North Koreans. The 8th Forward Artillery Battalion moved into position to support Task Force Dalvin, named after a lieutenant colonel, in a dash to the Yalu River that divided China and North Korea. We had set up in a schoolyard. We ate Thanksgiving dinner a day early and moved into position just after dark in what appeared to be an old cornfield. The supply sergeant had procured some winter clothes, gloves, and socks, and he and I, after setting up communication with our security outpost, unrolled our sleeping bags and, without undressing or taking off boots, we tried to get warm by sitting in the truck in the sleeping bags. But there was no sleeping because a .50 caliber machine gun was chattering a few hundred feet away. A runner from the fire detection center came over and told me that the machine gun on the outpost needed ammunition, and my truck pulled the ammo trailer. The sergeant and I grabbed several cans of ammo and started following the phone line to the hill. About that time, it suddenly got quiet, and a bugle began blowing what sounded like taps. As soon as it quit, whistles started blowing all around our position. It was apparent we were surrounded, and for the next hour or two, we fought for survival. Our 105mm howitzers started firing point blank into the hills around us, as did B and the new C battery. Just before daylight, we were directed to withdraw. It was a miracle our battalion only lost 2 killed and 10 wounded. The confusion was unbelievable, with Chinese firing from the high ground and in and around our position. C battery had to leave a howitzer, but went back in the afternoon and recovered it. Later, one of the guys on the outpost told me that the Chinese had assembled on the road just below him and started blowing the bugles and then disappeared to the hills. He was not sure if they were enemy or not and never opened up on them until they started firing. Had he known it was the Chinese, the firefight may have ended there. What followed was a withdrawal of units from North Korea. The 2nd Division was on our right. It was almost totally wiped out. We picked up several men from that division, and they talked of miles of trucks, guns, and other materiel that had been destroyed, and hundreds of men lost. One evening before dark, the battalion commander came by my truck and handed me his field glasses and said, "Take a look on that ridge, about 800 to 1,000 yards away, and tell me if I'm seeing things." I looked and could easily make out Chinese troops moving to the east, the same direction we would be going. He said, "Let's move out and get A battery on the road before we are cut off," which we did. A battery started what we called leapfrogging with the 27th Infantry. We would set up, fire, and cover the infantry as they pulled back through us. Then we would pull back and set up again. On the 1-lane dirt road, we moved along at a snail's pace. Hundreds of refugees were carrying their children and life savings and walked among us. One night, as we leapfrogged through the infantry, a firefight broke out in a village as the Chinese tried to ambush the retreating U.S. troops. It was hard to tell who was friend or foe. Our artillery battery made it out of the village, and we were able to find a reasonably clear spot to set up and resume fire support. We did this for several days, and I lost all concept of time. At one point, we set up in a rail yard and discovered a boxcar of food that evidently had been abandoned for lack of an engine. Our outfit got what turned out to be our rations for the next 2 weeks, mostly cereal and canned milk. Close to Pyongyang, North Korea's capital, the battery commander got word that our Air Force was going to destroy ammunition, rations, and other supplies at the Pyongyang airport. So he grabbed a jeep and trailer and came back loaded with post-exchange goodies. Later on, we drove past the airport and witnessed the fireworks as untold amounts of fuel, ammo, and buildings burned. One afternoon, I was forcing open the door of a small building where we had stopped. It abruptly opened, and there was a mama-san hanging from the rafters. I had seen death many times in Korea, but this killing of a civilian woman really got to me. I can still see this little old lady in black hanging there. There was no contact with the enemy for several days. A battery set up south of a river, I believe the Imjin River. We put out mines and barbed wire around our area to alert us of enemy action. I hated mines, but they were necessary for protection and to prevent surprise.